Hey, loves, how are you all doing? It's always a pleasure to be here with you all. I'm so grateful because I know that there are so many other places that you can be. And I'm always so grateful that you are here with me sharing space because it means a lot to me. And we have fun. And I get to continue to bring you incredible guests. So, as always, I'm super grateful for you. And please, if you have any questions or if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out in the chat because you also know that I like this to be interactive. And as always, if you're watching the replay, if you're here with us live or listening, please subscribe, share, because that allows us to continue to show up and bring you the incredible guests like my extremely amazing and inspiring guest today. I'm Grace Redman, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Real Talk, where I get to have real life, raw conversations with incredible people from my circles and communities who have overcome challenges and created amazing. Today, my very inspiring guest is Dr. Peter Rios. Dr. Rios is a renowned bilingual speaker, organizational consultant, and leadership coach with over 20 years of leadership development experience across multiple industries. Dr. Rios has consulted at institutions such as Harvard University, the Lilly Endowment, and the Department of Veteran Affairs. He has been a lecturer at Penn State, Colorado State, and the Pacific School of Religion at Berkeley. His passion for leadership, personal development, and organizational change stems from his own amazing transformational experience after overcoming trauma at an early age and embarking on an unprecedented journey of healing, self discovery, and professional development. Dr. Rios is on a mission, along with his spouse, Dr. Ruby Gonzalez Rios, to build and develop people so they can maximize their potential and live healthy, fulfilled lives. Please help me welcome Dr. Peter Rios to the show.
Hi, Grace. So good to be here with you and uh, greet all of the listeners today. Excited to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Rios. I'm so excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. And as I was mentioning before we went live, is I really loved your book, Maximize. And I just
Absolutely.
finished reading it this morning. And it just
Wow.
totally like fired me up and inspired me. So I'm super excited to have you here today because it's about like you talk about breaking those stereotypes and cycles and creating amazing, which you have done. So thank you so much for being here
Oh,
today.
thank you for that encouragement. That inspires me. And I'm always great to hear from people when they read the book. And, obviously I'm biased. I think it's a good book, but I wrote it. But
It
when
is great.
I get to hear from somebody else, it's always encouraging. And that's what it's about, right? We encourage, empower, motivate one another. So
Yes, yes, and it definitely motivates me. And although we're both entrenched in the self development and growth, I feel like I need to really be in it every day. So just reading your book over the last week helped me really remember some concepts that I forgot about because there's so
wow.
much.
Yeah. That's great. I do the same. I listen to motivational, inspirational talks, teachings, lectures daily. I
Yes,
think that that's what keeps you fresh, keeps you encouraged, motivated, helps you to stay on your toes and, take on the day, so to say. So
yes, I'm totally with you on that. And when you talk about maximizing your life, the book Maximize Your Life. What does maximizing your life mean to you?
I, the idea of maximize is that you're currently at one level, one state, right? And it assumes that there's always a better place for you to be, or uh, 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 to position yourself a bit better, or to improve. So, in other words, to take yourself and go to the next step, the next level, whatever that may be, wherever you find yourself today in life, and just doing those incremental improvements, those small baby improvements every day. As we know, a year later, you will be far better than what you were 3 years later, 5 years later. Like the book Maximize, as I write, I wrote about previous years, but it took me, a year and a half to write it. Every day I did a little bit. And at the end of the year, I had my book. And so there's so many people listening. They have book ideas in them. They have businesses. They want to have a better relationship. They want to, help somebody else, and flourish in their life or their organization to thrive. But it's done on the small wins. It's done on a daily basis. And I think that's what I'm hoping to communicate to people, that anyone can maximize. You're never too young. You're never too old or mature, I like to say, or seasoned, to maximize your life. So don't wait any longer. You don't need permission from anyone. You are
Yes.
gifted. You are talented. You are
Yes.
special. You are amazing.
Oh.
And honestly, Grace, it wasn't until I actually accepted that myself. Like, I was living like a zombie back in the day. You read the book. I hit rock bottom. I went to a rehab center, and it wasn't until I just had this encounter and thought, you know what, like, I need to take responsibility of my life. Can't do anything about the past, but I can definitely do something about today and the future. And that was, man, September 6, 2003, and here I am today speaking with you. So what a blessing.
Well, that was an amazing story, because I know when we connected, you shared that and it resonated so much for me. And you had said that, you went into this program, an addict, you had been, arrested, you just failed out of college, and then you had this awakening. So can you share a
Yeah.
little bit with us about that moment? Because when you shared that with me, it was just so powerful and it resonated for me.
Yeah, I would love to. So, at that time in September of 2003, leading up to that day that we're talking about in the rehab center, and it was Gowanda, New York. I can think about it as, like it was yesterday. Leading up to that day, I was basically an addict, a drug addict, and I was, awake for days,
Mhm.
on drugs and, alcoholic, and just lost, just troubled, just, with trauma, spiritually, physically, emotionally. Most of it self-induced.
Totally.
And at this place, I went there and I was in intake, going to be processed for like a 2-month program. And on the third day being there, being detoxed, and, I just looked out. It's interesting because I'm in Orlando, Florida now, and it's raining. It's really raining, really bad, thundering. And that's exactly how it was that day. It's
Oh,
so
wow.
strange. It was like that. It was dark, gray, gloomy. I felt like that in the inside. I felt horrible. And I said, I don't know if there's a God, but if you were really there, my grandmother raised me, like, and believing in God, believing in the higher power. But I never really adopted that myself. I thought, like, that's your religion, that's your thoughts, your philosophy. But at that moment, I was so desperate, and I'm like, if there is a God, like, please do something with me, because I feel like I was borderline suicidal. I felt like I will kill myself. I don't know with hindsight if I would have ever done that, but that's
Sure.
the way I felt. And the next morning, I woke up and I went to the restroom in the bathroom of the room I was in, and I just heard this voice. And it's not like I heard it audibly, but I just felt like I heard a voice, or like and they said, you told me to do something with you. Now, I know this is going to spook people out. Some people are going to be like, this is crazy, but that really happened to me, and I thought, oh my God, like, that's God. And I just fell on my face crying, because I felt like, here's this divine, almighty, powerful God came down to talk to this Puerto Rican kid from New York who's knee deep in addiction and just lost and suicidal. And I just got up and I just felt this joy, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I actually saw myself for who I was, this guy who had all this potential, this person who had all this potential but had been wasting it, living like a zombie, living lost, living like idle, or like if I didn't have a purpose or a calling.
Mm,
And I don't know, maybe you're listening to me, and you could resonate with part of that, of maybe you're not living to the best of your potential today. Well, guess what? Today's your day. You can have a
amen.
change right now, and that's what's exciting about maximizing your life. Everyone can maximize their life, because everyone can go to the next level. And I'm reminded of what Well, anyway, I'll leave it there. But that's what happened, it's
No,
just,
go. You're reminded of what? I love it. You're in a
well, I
flow.
was thinking of Reverend Martin Luther King when he said that everyone can be great because everyone can serve. And
Amen.
and I thought about that. I'm like, you know what? Like, I was like, my life is gonna change today. My life is gonna change. I'm gonna start helping people. And here I am. I'm like 2 seconds sober. I'm already think I'm gonna help somebody. But that was just the spirit, like saying you are gonna help somebody. I'm gonna put you to work. And since then, like my life has done a 180. Just growth
Oh,
through mentorship, through healing, I've gone through counseling, I've gone through intensive counseling therapy, multiple counselors, in and out, trying, my spouse, Ruby, oh, what a blessing she's been, when we got married in 2012, some years later, but, I guess I'm just saying that to say this, that I'm a living example. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're at. If you are willing or bold enough or can dare to have the courage to make the decision today that enough's enough. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I want to do something with my life. Or maybe your life is okay, but you could always be better. And so why
sure.
not? Why not do it? Because we need you to maximize your life so that we can make this world a better place.
Amen. I absolutely 100% believe that. And you wrote, as we grow and succeed, we take everyone, along with us.
Yes.
We grow, succeed, we inspire, and ultimately, at the end of the day, isn't that what it's about for us to help each other, and then that will help, raise improve the collective, make it a better world for sure.
Exactly.
Something that you talked about also is that our trials, tribulations, and challenges are really the foundation of our success. Can you speak on that?
Oh man.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anyone who's successful, and I know that can be defined in different ways, but I don't know anyone who's successful who hasn't gone through like fire or who hasn't had multiple failures or setbacks. And so, sometimes we have this I think it's fictitious like idea of I don't know, reality TV, or sometimes this microwave, like success story of one day to another. There's 8 billion people on earth or more than that, and maybe like 2 or 3 people that happen, but for the most of us it's going to be a process. And so I think of like something silly, but as an example, when I was younger, I write about that, right? I tried out for my basketball team from
I
seventh
love
grade.
that story. I love
from,
that story. So thank you for I was gonna bring that up.
no, yeah, it's okay. From seventh grade in middle school and eighth grade, I got cut from the team. I didn't make it. And then all through high school, 4 years, so 6 years in a row, I didn't make the team, and that was devastating for me. I'm a younger person that really played a lot in my identity and my this whole notion of belonging. And I just thought, man, maybe I'm not good enough. And people, my some people in my family, others, why do you keep trying out? You haven't made the team, obviously. And but I felt like I belonged on that team, and I honestly felt I was better than half the people who made it. So every year I would work harder and harder. Every year I would work on the skill sets that I thought I did not do well the previous year. I worked on my left hand because I'm right-handed. I shot better because I'm shorter. So all these things I was working on, and I never made the team. But what I didn't realize, and now I know, is that I was building resilience. I was
Mhm.
building this unshakable belief in myself. I was building this fire and passion that today, like, I will bet on myself 110%. And I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm just being confident. Like, I
Amen.
know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. I know my value, and so I define that. Others outside of me don't define that anymore.
Mm,
Before, people did, and now I do. And if someone else doesn't see it, or it's okay, it's not going to affect me. But they would probably be better if they worked with me. That's the way I think, right? Or they probably would be better off if they partnered with. And so those earlier years of failure, of setback, really helped me today. And I have other stories like that. But that's
I
like
love
one of
it.
my most fun stories of, you probably have failed, you've probably had setbacks, you've probably hit rock bottoms in your life. You know what? Reframe those. Think them
Yes.
through. What did you learn? And how can, and actually, if you look back, you will see in your life how sometimes you've pivoted, and
Yeah.
that has allowed you to be where you're at today. And so, yeah, I think that coach now, just like Michael Jordan's coach,
Yep.
Michael Jordan got cut in ninth grade.
Right.
And I'm like, well, if he got cut and he's considered one of the greatest of all time, I can keep going, and so.
Amen. I love that story so much because you just kept going back and going back. And like you said, you got better and better and it built your resilience. And I love how you say you're confident. Can I just say it? You're a child of the Most High God.
I am, and so are you, and so are everyone who's listening
Yes.
to us.
So everyone listening, and if you could, we can call it God, universe, source, whatever you choose. So I love that story because even as a young person, young kid, you did not allow the rejection to stop you. And I know, later in life, you getting into the Marines and going through that really rigorous boot camp, which was challenging, and you went up against so many challenges that you talk about in the book. Like, how do you overcome those slam doors, that fear, those challenges to build that resilience to keep going? Because most of us quit.
Yeah, my favorite book says that we should always seek, ask, and knock. And so
Mm,
I believe that's like my life text, or my sacred text. That's like my favorite script right there, my pericope. That's what we call it in seminary,
love
like
it.
pericope, like pericope, excuse me. Like, you have to continue to seek, ask, and knock. You have to believe when others don't believe. You have to keep on going. I'm under the I come from the school of thought that this may be the time, and if I quit now, if I don't do it or try it again, I may actually miss out. Who knows if the next time you knock on a door, or the next time you go out and seek something that you may need, or ask for help, that you might actually get it. It might be the day, it might be the time for your breakthrough, for your opportunity. And so i I would rather now, as hard and difficult as it is, because rejection is difficult, right? It still plays on you. It doesn't matter how old you are or how much success you've had. Nobody wants to be told no in that sense. But I'd rather have it like that than regret later on, saying, man, I wonder if I would have tried again, you know?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I've done that before. And so I don't want to do that ever again, you know? So I don't live with any regrets. I try, I mean, at least I try my best not to, and I'm going for it. I'm going,
Okay.
life's too short. Don't,
Yes.
you got to go for it. You got
Yes.
whatever that is. And everybody listening to us, there's a different go for it for everyone, right? For you, Grace, there's
Totally.
a different go for it than me, but you got to go for it, because you know what? No one can do what you do. And no one,
Amen.
like I always talk about the fingerprint. Like, no one has my fingerprint. No one has your fingerprint. You
That's
have to
true.
leave that fingerprint, your mark on earth now, this generation. So do it.
Yes. Yes. And we all have that within us, all those gifts. So, what do you think keeps people from stepping into their God given talent and potential? Because everyone has it.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot of, I could go, there's so many different answers, right? Because I think one, sometimes we do it to ourselves.
True.
We just get lazy, lackadaisical. That's the first one. Like, it's just easy. It's so easy to be mediocre or to be
It is.
average. It's
It
very
is.
easy. You just get
It's
up and do
easy.
it. Not
Yeah.
easy peasy. You don't need to think about it too much,
Totally, it is. It's easy.
right?
It really is. It's
It,
easier, it's
it is.
comfortable. You could just,
It is.
flow and you'll be fine.
And especially if you live in the U.S., because in
Totally.
different parts of the world that may not be the case. But if you live in the U.S., you could get like a minimum day, wage job, or something that's okay. It's safe. You just go, to your job, go home. You can watch your TV. You might be able to have a car. All of the things that you need to live, and that's fine if that's the type of life that you've decided. Then I guess that's okay. But I think the other side is that it really does take hard work. It really does take failing. It really does take getting out of your comfort zone. By the way, nothing grows in a comfort zone.
No,
So mediocrity, you're comfortable. But if you want to be great and do amazing things, you're gonna be uncomfortable, and you have to be comfortable or okay with that. Remember, if you feel uncomfortable, it just means you're uncomfortable. It doesn't mean it's bad or it's wrong.
right.
And so the other thing, I think that there could be systemic issues, societal issues we have
Yes,
sometimes that hinder people. However, as a person of color, I will say that we can be using that either as excuses because
yes.
we now have more access than ever to do a lot of different things, even like education, right? Voting, all of these things. Um, and then I think the last one I would say is that sometimes we get, well, there's two things. The second to last is I call it adulting. Adult, like you become an adult and you don't want to play any more games. You know, like remember when you were a little kid, you would play games all day long.
It was
And
fun and we're
it was
playful.
fun. It was fun. You'd repurpose things. Like I used my grandmother's high heels. I would walk around them. I used like a hammer, right? I would hammer things with her high heels. I would do different because you're just creative. Lego, you know, and
Yep.
but you become an adult and then you're like maybe living above your means. So you have to pay these bills of things that you probably don't even have anymore. Credit card. I mean, come on.
You
The
just get
other,
stressed.
pardon?
You just get stressed and like I said, adulting, and then you get into that, hamster wheel.
Yep. Yep.
That doesn't leave space for the creativity, or it disconnects you from spirit as well.
Yep. Exactly.
So something that you talked about that I want to touch on, I know there definitely is systemic racism. Being Palestinian,
Yep.
American, I see it more than ever right now. And this is
Hmm.
why we talk about marginalized communities. And this is why it's so important, especially for our communities, especially for the Palestinian community, is to get out of and believe in yourself to
Right.
strive to be better, because yes, we are living in the United States, and those that are not living in the United States, that are in those war zones, they don't have that opportunity that we have. So because we are here and have this opportunity and this privilege, I really believe that it's our um
Duty,
responsibility.
responsibility.
Yes, it's our responsibility to educate ourselves. That doesn't always need to mean college, but to
Yep.
get out of our comfort zone, to get into these positions of influence, to use our talents and our gifts to get out there in the world, to really be able to educate, speak, give back, and serve. Because when we stay, mediocre, we stay small, and we don't get the
Right.
opportunity to step into these positions that can be very influential and serve our communities that are marginalized. Because like you said, systemic racism, it is real. However, it does not have to define us.
Exactly. Exactly. And if um, those of us who come from marginalized or minoritized communities, we know that very well, and it's still live and well, even in our amazing country of the U.S.
It is.
So, but you know what, like, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, you have to do both. And like for me, I fight, I combat that. The last 10 years before, going into entrepreneurship myself, I worked in higher education. So I did that because I wanted to help other communities that were marginalized, minoritized, first generation students, other Latinos, to get into school, to get into college, university, because I realized how powerful education is. I'm reminded what Paulo Freire once said. He said that education doesn't change the world. Education changes people, and those people go and change the world.
Amen.
And I'm like, you know what? Like, so I got educated. I'm still getting educated. Like you said, it could be formal education or informal. By the way, shameless plug, go to my YouTube channel at Dr. Peter Rios, and you'll have some amazing, I think,
Yes.
personal development, leadership development, short form videos to help you to develop yourself. We have to do that. We have to build ourselves up. You have to add
Yes.
that, especially in this such a changing landscape with, let's say, AI, artificial intelligence, this technological advancements that we're having. You have to continuously add value to yourself, learn new skills,
Yes.
develop yourself, because the more valuable you become, the more valuable you are to the world and to the
Yes.
marketplace. But if I'm still with like this skill set of 20 years ago, it's probably obsolete. It doesn't even fit the mold or this generation anymore. And so, that's even going back to the interculturalness of our world. Like some people are being left behind because they want it to be the old world. It's like, man, we're so more multicultural, multi-ethnic. We are a global society now, multiple languages. Like I'm reminded in St. Martin, I lived there too, right? In St. Martin. and it's an island of 40,000 people, and yet you hear like dozens of languages all
That's
everywhere,
incredible.
and it's amazing. And I'm like, this is amazing, you know. And so, yeah, you got to get out. We got to get out of our comfort zone, Grace. We have to get out.
Totally. I'm constantly getting out of my comfort zone, and sometimes it's can I
Good
just
for
have
you.
a little bit of time to just be comfortable? And then spirit's like, yeah, no, like pushes me out. Something that circles back to what you're talking about, and I pulled it from your book, is this quote that you shared by Alvin Toffler.
Mm,
And you said the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn.
yeah, yeah.
What does
And
that mean?
that's what we're talking about, right? Like, sometimes we do something over and over and over because that's the way we learned it. That's the way we learned how to do it. Some people, for example, I know people who they have a bad attitude or they're rude, and they're like, well, I'm just like that, because my whoever raised them was like that. And I'm like, that's something that you can unlearn, you
Amen.
know. And I've had to work on that. I'm using like myself as an example.
I still have to work on all of these things every day.
Exactly. So those are things you may have to unlearn. There may be things that you have to relearn in terms of maybe, like in the same instance, manners, being polite, or just how to enjoy day to day, be at peace, be content, right? We may have to learn that and relearn it because we live in a society where it's like go, go, go 100,000 miles per hour, or, you need to have more. And please help hear me. That's not what Maximize is about. It's not burning out. It's not like, just being this person who's always going to produce. A tree doesn't always produce. A tree has seasons,
Yes,
right? It
that's
goes
true.
through, different flows, ebbs and flows. And so do we. And we need that time. I'm taking a day off every week now, like a sabbatical, like intentionally. I am off. I am not doing anything productive. I am, it's my day, my day to have a license to just chill. And, and,
Amen.
I, and you need to do that. You need to do that. So, yeah, let's learn, let's unlearn, let's relearn. There are some things that we need to learn. And I think if you want to be great in this generation, you're going to have to be a lifelong learner. And that's what learning is all about.
Absolutely. And something that you said was, I love this. Where is it? Why is remaining teachable crucial for any leader aiming for success?
I'm sorry, what was that?
So why is remaining teachable crucial for any leader who wants to continue to be successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I think of all the great leaders I know, and I'm aspiring to be, great in my own way, and I know that they're all learners.
Mhm.
Like, I've been in meetings where, somebody asked me recently, what would you tell the younger Peter, like your younger leader self? And I said, and I thought for a while, and I said, oh, I would tell myself it's okay to ask questions.
Mm.
Like, you don't need to pretend that you know everything, or like if I say I don't know that, or if I have a question, I may look foolish. Actually, in the Marines, I served in the Marines and in the military in general, like not asking a question could actually cost somebody their life. And so you
Wow.
have to ask questions. You have to, and try to ask the right questions, probe at things, be analytical. And so I think that that's what I mean by learning. By a leader, not pretending to know everything, be transparent. People know when people are faking it, right? And so, be authentic. And I think that that's how we can have true transformation and change.
Mhm. There are times I have faked it, Peter. Sometimes I fake it
Make it
till I
till you
make
make it.
it. In my younger days, oh yeah.
Me too.
And so something you talk about is our pain serves as a catalyst for transformation. How did your pain serve as a catalyst for your transformation?
Wow, it was simple. Either I stay in my pain,
Mm.
rot and die, or I make a decision that enough's enough. No more zombieing, no more um, purposeless living, and begin to live on purpose, begin to live intentionally. And I think that I like what Eric Thomas says about um, using your pain as motivation. You
Mm,
know,
it's great.
you've already gone through so much difficulty. You've already gone through like hell and high water. Why not use it to fuel you
Mm.
to have a breakthrough, to have a powerful and amazing ending or outcome to your favor? And so that's what I mean, and that's what I'm hoping that other people will leverage. Like, don't waste it. Don't waste that failure. Don't waste, maybe abuse you've been through, and that's really hard and harsh. I know that, like, and I'm not minimizing any of that. Trust
Yeah.
me, I've been through my own, but I'm not wasting it. I went through that, and life at times, experience can be a great teacher. Leverage it and go to your next level.
Yeah, and that resonates for me so much because, I've been, like most people, I've been through so much and, the
Yep.
abuse, dysfunction, the challenges, the heartache. And to be transparent, that's what got me to where I am today because I refused to go down. So I
Wow.
transmuted, that, and it wasn't easy. I mean, it's painful, but I transmuted that, and I did. I used it as leverage to create success. And
Let me ask you a question. How did you do that? What made you do that? Like, what was your turning point? Or, I always call it like a light dimmer, right? It's not like a light switch, like on and off. It's like a light dimmer where you're like, that's it. I can't take this anymore. Like,
sure. So it was I was I didn't know how to fight back. I was more I don't want to say timid, but I wasn't going to be that loud person to fight back. And so what I did is I retreated within, myself. And so in putting my effort into, work, that helped me distract me from the pain and
mm-hmm,
distract me from, getting into the dysfunction, into the chaos, into the drama. And so that was it. Like, I couldn't stay in the pain anymore. Like, I knew that if I wanted to do something, I had to do something different. And so I transmuted the energy into my work.
wow,
But that also was the way that I felt worthy. So I had to prove myself, and that wasn't healthy, but it got me to where I needed to be. And then once I recognized that, I started healing that part of me. And now I want to, move forward and succeed because I know that God has put potential in me.
right. That's great.
So
Proud
that's
of
how
you. Proud of you.
I do. And so that's why I loved your book, and you and I can flow, and it resonates so much because it's a very similar, experience. And something I also loved about what you said is our focus is our superpower. So tell us
Mm.
why you believe that our focus is our superpower.
Yeah, so until I got focused, I wasn't really doing or accomplishing much. And I know this is like, oh, here we go again. But you have to have goals. Like, what is your goal this year? You know what? We're about to start July, so we have
Yeah,
6 months left of this. I'm still calling it a new year of 2024. Half the year is gone. Are am I?
crazy.
So it's a time to analyze, right? Like, am I where I'm supposed to be? Checking my benchmarks, my goals. So I think focusing, you have to have goals. You have to know where you're going. You have to have a target, because how are you going to know if you are improving or not? And again, it goes away from that just living mediocrity to more focus, intentionality, actually reaching goals, breaking some of your goals, surpassing some of your goals. And I think that that's where people can actually maximize their lives. Having focus. And again, you have to take time off, right? So I'm not saying
Yes,
like
you do.
always be, fifth gear, all the way, but and so that's the challenge for us today, and so much distraction and so much
So many
confusion
distractions.
and so many things that's going on in this world. Focus is probably, if not the most important thing that we can do today.
Amen to that because I got pulled into the distractions late last year, early in the year, and I could see how I just started going down the rabbit hole. And then I was like, okay, if I'm getting distracted, how am I going to be able to serve my community?
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. And yes, the distractions take us away from our God-given potential. And that's like, I feel like that's the adversary. Like the
Yeah,
distractions are the adversary trying to pull us away of, what we're supposed to do.
exactly.
Something that struck me was a sentence, in the book, which you wrote, the graveyard is the richest place on earth.
Yeah.
Why is the graveyard the richest place on earth?
Oh man, I love that story. Um, you know, the graveyard, you people go there never realizing their full potential. We have people who could have been Grammy Award winners, who could have had bestsellers, who could have solved society's problems, who could have started a nonprofit, an NGO, something that would be amazing for a community or a society or a certain part of the world. And because of fear, because of being lazy, or because of, like we said earlier, maybe, not wanting or having the courage to face certain societal issues, they don't realize them. And I thought, man, I don't want to be like that. I used to be like that. I'm just, in all honesty and transparency, I was living like that. And it wasn't until that time, September of 2003, that I began to change, churn my ship around, and like, no, we cannot live like that. One thing that's common to everyone in humanity, doesn't matter what your religion is, what your politics, what your philosophy is, you and me, we're gonna die.
That,
We're all gonna die.
that is a fact. That is a
Right.
fact.
It is. And you can't escape it. I know we're working on longevity medicine, and soon enough it will be here. Maybe you'll live 100, 200 years, but you're still going to die.
Yeah,
And so the choice is ours. The choice is yours. What are you going to do? What are we going to do with this precious life that we have, that we don't even know when it's our last day?
that's
Like, I'm
right.
so blessed to be here with you today, Grace. Like, this is amazing. We're making a difference, with this podcast. You're making a huge difference, serving, inviting people on. Um, God forbid, it's not our last, but we're doing something meaningful today. And so that's what focus is about. That's what maximizing your life is about. And that's what's dying empty is about, right? You don't want to go to the grave full. You want to go to the grave empty. Leave it all out, right?
Yeah.
Leave it all out.
Oh,
You've given it your all. You fought the good fight. You have run your race. And man, somebody can then take the baton behind you and
mm,
continue your legacy. But how
amen.
can we continue your legacy if you're not in action? And so that's
Oh,
that's the encouragement today. We got to do it.
yes.
Time is
I don't know why. I got so emotional to that.
it's good. It's
Yeah, it's
good.
so
That
good.
means that it's making sense. I mean,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
you're right. We don't know if we have tomorrow, and then what do you want to do with today? And it's up to us to be that pebble in the pond to make the changes that are so necessary in our world, especially right now.
well said.
Especially right now. So, another story I love from the book, and if you can share with us the story of the goldfish.
The goldfish.
Hmm.
Yeah, the goldfish is just like many of us. So the moral of the story is, this guy had a goldfish. He wanted some entertainment in his house, and he bought a goldfish, put it in a bowl. He loved it for about 2 weeks, but then he noticed like the goldfish just kind of swam 2 little inches to the left and right, and it seemed bored or even borderline depressed. And he's like, I know what it is. If I were a goldfish, would I want to be in this little stinking bowl? Of course not. I'd want to be in a full big tank. And so the guy had some resources. So he went and bought a fish tank that filled his whole living room wall. And he said, but I wouldn't want to be alone in all of that. I'd want to have friends. I'd want to have the best eatery, And so he went and got organic fish food. I'm just kidding. I don't know if there's organic fish food, but he
I'm
got that.
sure
He got
there
some
is.
toys. He got all the goodies that fish would want. He got exotic fish, and he put them all in the fish tank, and he's seeing all the fish swimming around. He's like, I'm gonna put the goldfish in there. He's gonna have a great time. I can't wait to see this. And to his surprise, the goldfish just swam 2 inches to the left and 2 inches to the right. He's like, you gotta be kidding me. He's like, maybe he needs some encouragement. So he took him out of that corner and put him all the way on the far side of the other side of the tank. And to his surprise, the goldfish kept doing the same thing. And the issue is, that before we go and criticize that goldfish, sometimes we're like that goldfish. We have been put in an opportunity, like from a fish bowl to a huge fish tank. But because we grew up in something so small and we only knew how to learn or learned how to, in this case, the goldfish to swim 2 inches to the left or the right, never could take advantage of that whole fish tank that it had. It was content being in that little space, that circumference, of that space. And sometimes that's the way we are. Like life is calling you, it's calling us. Hey, here's an opportunity. Hey, you don't like the way they're treating that population? Go do something. Like sometimes we have issues with certain things in the world, and that's destiny calling us. Like, yeah, you're the one called to change that, to solve that. And so don't be like the goldfish, stagnant or stuck in your little box or, zone of comfort. Dare to swim out in that blue ocean opportunity that you have. And who knows what can happen,
That's right. And who knows what can happen from stepping outside the box, like you shared, in your book. Each time that you stepped out of the box, it took you to the next step and the next step.
Can
And
I can I say something about that?
of
So,
course,
and I want to admit, like, because I know people are like, oh, that's good. He's got 2 PhDs, of course. And it's like, yeah, I didn't always have 2 PhDs, and I failed community college 3 times, and I was an addict, and I was an
yes,
alcoholic, and I've had to overcome different bad habits and behaviors. So I know what it is to try to, make it, to survive, not only, to thrive, but to survive. But I like what these therapists, they call exposure therapy. Like
hmm,
they talk about being exposed to something little by little.
yep.
And so I remember I was in the Marine Corps, I had to rappel down this 50-foot wall. Huge. Like, from the bottom, it doesn't look that tall, but when you get up there, and I'm afraid of heights. I had never been up, and the drill instructor's like, put this rope, they put it around me, and they're like, lean back. And if you lean back, you're like almost in the air.
Ugh.
And I'm like, no way. No, no, no. And I was willing to leave boot camp because I was so scared. And the drill instructor looked at me and said, you're going to do it, and you're going to do it right now. I was like, no, I'm not. I was like, absolutely not.
Hey,
And
sometimes you need someone to believe in you too, right?
yeah. And it kept going back and forth, back and forth. And little by little, he's like, just go a little bit, 1 more inch. Little, okay, right. And he was holding the rope. And then he goes, I'm going to let it go. You're going to feel like you're going to fall, but you're not. You trust me? And I'm like, I don't trust you, I'm like, absolutely not. But we did. And I was leaning back. And then he's like, don't look down. Just start going down. Or no, you have to jump off first. Then we walk down the wall. Either way, I did that. I ended
And
up doing it, but it took me a while. I was so scared.
but you did it. And again, I read that, in the book, which goes
Yeah,
back to, if there's something that you want to do and you're afraid of doing, like I said, exposure therapy, and also find someone who's done it and was successful at it and just model that. And he
exactly.
showed you, what to do. And something you talk about also in the book, if there's something that you want to do, or a career you want to be in, go find someone who's doing it and ask them,
Right.
hey, I'd love to follow you or learn from you. And
Yep.
you might get several closed doors, but keep trying.
Exactly.
You talk about
Exactly.
mentorship and serving, and that's what it's about. And something that you talk about is that as mentors, it's really important to allow your mentees to see you and know you at a deeper level, to really be vulnerable and not to be closed off to your stories, like you shared today, like the addiction, the arrest, and I also make an effort to be vulnerable. Why is it important for us to be vulnerable and allow others, as leaders, to be vulnerable and see people, allow people to see, like, our that pain in us, or our challenges, our
Yeah.
securities.
Yeah. That I don't think there's any other way to, like they say, leadership is caught, it's not taught. And
Mm,
I think that also success a lot of times is not taught as much as it is caught. Like
mm,
the old notion of like monkey see, monkey do. I don't know if that's appropriate to say, but I grew up hearing that. Like parents, I don't have kids, but I've heard like parents or people tell up someone else, hey, don't do, you know, do what I say, not what I do. It's like, no, no, no. People will follow what you do. And so for good or for not so good. And so in the good sense, or even, when leaders have a failure, that's a teaching moment for the leader and the team. And you should bring your team together and say, hey, this is why we didn't make our mark, or this is why we failed, or this project didn't go as planned. What can we learn from it? And I think that people begin to grow together. I appreciate more a person being honest and transparent, because I feel like that actually, back in the day, people would look down on that and say, oh, that's a weak leader. I think we know now enough where it's like, you want your leaders to be transparent and authentic. Now, that doesn't mean like bring out your whole laundry list, right? Like, that's obviously, you
Totally,
got to,
totally.
there's a
You have
certain
to be
level of
discerning.
professionalism. Pardon?
You'd be discerning as well.
Yeah, exactly. But there also is, there's also a level of gratitude, and respect, I think, that people get and share when, if we share a moment together where I have seen you, let's say, um, do well and then not do well and then do well again. How did you bounce back? And you share that with me. I
Mhm.
respect you for that. I can grow from that, and I will follow you because of that. But when you don't know someone's inner outs, or they're hiding, and it's like, it's fake, it's not real. And I was at a conference years ago, and the one speaker said, this young generation, they know when people are faking it. They'll walk into a room, they'll go, who faked it?
Well, you're right, because it's energy. It's
That's
it's it's
right.
all it's all energy, and we can feel that. So I want to give a shout out to the incredible Dr. Ruby Rios,
Oh,
because
the
she's
love
so
of my life.
inspiring. And wow, like she went to medical school at the age of 50,
Yeah, 48.
40, so just
But
maximizing.
she's still there, so
Yeah.
so she's,
So yeah, she's 50 years old in medical school, whereas
yeah.
in the world around me, typically it's like when we're turning 50, it's like, oh, okay, I'm old. And I'm like, no, we are just starting
Oh,
our life.
just
Like, this is
starting.
the time to
Yeah.
really step into that. And something you say, don't wait on God, because God is waiting on you.
Don't you love that? Like, I grew up in a religious household, and in the religious context, we always talked about how God would do it. God is in control if it's God's will. And I believe that, but at the same time, like, God gave you a brain,
That's
and
right.
God gave you these hands and the feet
Mm.
and like, so God is waiting on you. God's already given you everything that you need to do what you're supposed to do. So it's like,
And
what
I
are you
and I
waiting for?
and because I've also been experimenting the last few years, because I'm a recovering workaholic. So I thought, well, maybe if I sit back, the universe, God will just respond. And of course, God always, the universe has your back. And I've learned that we need to take the action. Like,
Right.
I cannot just sit back. But once we take the action, it does it. Like you said in your book, it takes action, it takes grit, it takes
Hmm.
hustle. And sometimes, I don't like using those words because of, my past experience. And there are times in life that we do need to put the grit, the action, the hustle, and we need to rest and play and
Yes.
be. I don't think it's this or that. It really, to go to what you're talking about and to maximize based
Yep.
on my experience and what I've been exploring, experimenting, it takes both. I can't just sit back
Yep.
and allow, like, it's just gonna fall in my lap like that. It's not gonna happen.
Exactly. And back to my wife, to my spouse, my best friend Ruby. Um, you know, to be at medical school at a later age like that is not easy,
I can
because
imagine.
your mind, everything's different.
Oh,
And she's
totally.
doing she's had challenges, but she's getting through, and that's the main thing. And I think she inspires me, and I think that she can be an inspiration for others listening. Like, again, it doesn't matter how young or old you are. You can always maximize your life. Now, maybe you're, going to medical school. Medical school is not for you. Maybe it's, starting a business, or a career pivot or change, or go back to school as an adult in a different format. But, there's opportunity. I was recently with Les Brown. He's 78 years old. And the stories he was telling us and watching him give feedback to other speakers, right? It was an intimate speaker training. And he would retell your story and he would like get in your story. And I'm like, this is phenomenal. The guy's 78 years old.
He's
When I was
amazing.
doing my mat, what?
He's
What?
amazing.
Yeah, he's amazing. And sorry, I didn't hear. And then there was this woman I mentioned in my book, I think too, of 70 something years old when we were in China. You know, she was doing her master's degree at 70 something years old. And I thought back then I was what, 30, 32 or something. And I thought, what would I be doing when I'm 72 or 73? I know one thing for sure. I'm not going to be sitting around eating dust. I'm going to be
That's
doing
right.
something, even if it's at a little by little part time, you know, with my cane. If I have a cane, I don't know how I'm going to be. I hope to be healthy, but you
You
never
will
know. So, you know, I'm like, yeah, what would I be doing? And so if you're listening to us today, whether you're 11 years old or 85 years old, you still have, if you're here, that means you still have something you can do and contribute to. And so we're looking forward to it.
absolutely. And I'm here to share with you. And I know Dr. Rios will absolutely concur with me that anything is possible.
Yes.
Anything is possible. So it's been such a pleasure having you. I'm like, I can continue to go on because there's so much that we can talk about. And I definitely want to be respectful of your time. But what is one last piece of wisdom that you can leave us with?
Oh, that's great. Great question. I would say, you know, if you're listening to us, know that there's something amazing that's in you, that's inside of you, that you are someone very special
Mm,
and you have something amazing to do. And maybe you're doing it and or maybe you're not, or maybe you need to scale it or grow it or start it. And so don't wait anymore. Don't, you know, just get started. Don't let perfectionism or anything else get in the way. You know, just get started. Just, you know, learn, pivot, improve as you go. And guess what? The resources will find you, because no one will invest in anything if they don't see that you're fully invested in it first. So just believe in it, believe in that dream you have, go for it. And as you're going for it, even if it's like, you know, it's not the best yet, somebody will see it. Somebody will believe in you also, and they will come along and partner with you and make it better too. So just go for it. Go for
mm,
it. And yeah,
go for it. I love
that's
that.
right. And if you
Yes,
want to, and if you want to connect with me, I'm at Dr. Peter Rios, at Dr. Peter Rios, or peterriosconsulting.com. I'd love to hear more about you and how we could potentially partner in the near future.
wonderful. And we'll definitely have that information ready and available for anyone who's listening or watching. We'll have all of your information there for them. And Dr. Rios, thank you so much for joining me. That was super fun and incredible, and for your wisdom and just for sharing your incredible story with us and just inspiring us and being an example of what's possible. We really appreciate you. And for those of you that are watching, listening, or on the replay, please share, like, and subscribe so we can continue to show up and bring you incredible guests like Peter Rios. And like Dr. Rios said, anything is possible. Maximize your life, because when you maximize your life, you are an example for everyone around you. So thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Rios. Hang in with us, and wishing you all an incredible, blessed day. Take care.
Thank you, Grace. Bye bye.
Bye.